Hi, everybody. This is Lauren, the Cheerful Baker, and today we are going to talk about airbrushing. So I got on just a few minutes early to make sure that everything worked. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to tell you about an airbrush machine that I do not like and an airbrush machine that I like, the benefits of airbrushing, and then some of the tools that I use for airbrushing that I really, really love. So it's not quite time, but whenever you get on, I would love it if you would tell me where you're from. I have been decorating cookies for over a decade. I was featured on the Food Network Christmas Cookie Challenge, which they no longer have, which is so depressing. I've been really fortunate that I've been in lots of magazines for my cookies. I mean, what cookies has done for me has been incredible, and I want that for all of you. So, hey, Patty, thank you for watching. I live in Versailles, Kentucky, which is right outside of Lexington. It's dreary today. And so say hi, tell me where you're from. I started decorating cookies because I just wanted a stress-free, fun outlet. My kids were young. One of them was having a lot of difficulties in school. He has dyslexia, and honestly, I just needed something fun in my life. And when I started doing cookies, I thought that I just was hooked. Oh, Patty, you're from Birmingham, Alabama. Are you familiar with Bake from Scratch magazine and the headquarters for those magazines there? I've been to Birmingham several times. I taught at a retreat, which was so much fun. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, Tammy. If you are watching this now and you have to hop off, Tammy said she had to hop off. It's going to be recorded, so it's okay. Patty, you love your box. You got it yesterday. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, when I hear things like that, it makes this all worth it. I love doing this, but I am the designer, the packer, the social media manager, the advertising agent, the customer service person. I do it all. And sometimes it's a lot. And so I love hearing good comments. I mean, I sound like I'm not thankful. I'm super duper thankful. So is it time? I think it's time. Let's see. Let's check the time. Yeah, it's 11:02. So the reason that I wanted to do this about airbrushing is before I had mono, I was sick for a couple months. Someone on one of my lives said, I would love for you to do a tutorial on airbrushing. And I said, oh yeah, I'll definitely do that. But then I got really sick. So now is the time because I'm feeling better. Hey, Sherry. So I love airbrushing for several reasons. One, it's super fast. I mean, you can decorate a cookie. You can decorate a dozen cookies in like 10 minutes. It may be a little bit longer than that, but it's really, really a quick way to decorate cookies. It's a great way to just add a little pop to a cookie by creating a fun background with an airbrush. It's just fast. I mean, that's the thing I like about it. It's fast. And the things that we do on a cookie that are fast, other people don't know that they're fast. And so, it's kind of like our secret weapon when we can airbrush. Airbrushing can also give dimension to cookies. You can do a lot of shading, which kind of make a blah cookie kind of come to life. So I love that. Now, what I mainly use airbrushing for is to do backgrounds on cookies or to write on cookies. Now I didn't do this in airbrush. I did this one with royal icing stenciling, but I could have easily done that also with an airbrush. And that would be so much neater and so much quicker than me trying to write in that pretty script. So that's another great reason for airbrushing. Now, when I first started airbrushing, I would love to know, hey, Nikki, I would love to know also if you all airbrush. Just put in the comments, yes, because I would love to know how many of you use an airbrush on a regular basis. When I first started airbrushing, I got the airbrush machine that I had for a long time from Michael's. And honestly, it worked really, really well until I until it didn't. You know, I just used it all the time. And I did a lot of things that did not help with the life of the airbrush gun, which I'll tell you in just a second. So once I did that, I needed a new airbrush. So I got a new airbrush, which I hate, and I'm going to show it to you. And I'm going to tell you why I hate it. It's this big, huge one right here. Now, if you work in a bakery and you are airbrushing hundreds of cookies, this thing is great. It's too much, I think. It's just too much. It's heavy. It takes up a lot of room. It has a big long cord that gets tangled. I just don't like it. And I just decided that I didn't want to spend the money, quite honestly, on a new one because I already had one. But then I decided, I need to do something that I enjoy. And somebody's calling me. I don't know who that is. And I need to enjoy airbrushing when I do it. So I got a new airbrush. The second airbrush that I got was this little airbrush that I got off of Amazon, which honestly, I really loved. It's so funny. I turned my phone off, but my phone is off, but my watch is still ringing. Tell me how that works. So I bought this little airbrush off Amazon. It was battery operated. It was $19, $20. I thought it was great. I did a video about it. I used it, for several weeks. I thought this is life-changing, and then it stopped working. So, it's just a cheap little thing that I bought from Amazon, and I guess you get what you pay for. So I decided I needed a new airbrush. So I just got a new one. I really, really like it. So I want to share with you all, and I'll put the link. I got it on Amazon. I wanted to order it on Amazon because it came fast, and then it would be easy for me to share it with you all. So it's this one right here, but I'll put a link in. It's called the W&W Watson & Webb Cake Decorating Kit. And there's a couple reasons I got that. One, this one has 3 different speeds. And I think that is important because if you want to use regular airbrush color, you want to use it on the low speed. And what do I mean by regular airbrush color? Just airbrush color from any company, just regular old airbrush color. But if you want to use airbrush color that is metallic, you want to be able to put your airbrush on a higher speed because sometimes metallic colors do not want to go through the nozzle. So that is important. This was a single action 4mm airbrush. Now, what does that mean? Single action means when I pull this back, the airbrush color comes out. A double action means you have to push it down. You have to push this button down, and then you have to pull it back. I don't want to do all that. So this is a single action, is a lot easier. It doesn't have a super long cord, but it's long enough. It's easy. I mean, it's small, which I really loved. Another thing that I love, let me pull this off. This is how you attach it to the cord, is you can take it apart. So I'm not going to do that right now, but you definitely want an airbrush gun that you can take apart and clean. There are so many YouTube videos about cleaning airbrush guns. Just YouTube it, honestly. But that's really, really, really important. When you have an airbrush gun, you want to be able to deep clean it, especially if you use metallic color, because it will kind of solidify in there if you don't clean it real well. And your airbrush gun is done for. Now, one nice thing too is you can buy replacement airbrush guns. I don't know if this company sells them, honestly, but if you just put on the internet, put in Amazon single action 4mm airbrush gun, you'll be able to get a replacement. Some people like having more than one gun if you do a lot of colors. I've never done that. I just wash mine in between. I don't like, tried but failed. Tammy says, I have an airbrush, but not used it yet. Michelle says, I airbrush, but I don't like to. It's so messy. Nikki says, I'm excited for my box to come. Can't wait to make that Gingy doggy. Oh, good. I know that little dog is the cutest thing. Yes. So let's talk about how to clean an airbrush gun. Once you fill it with color, what I always do is when I'm finished with that color, I have a glass that is, not real tall, but pretty wide. And I fill it with water and I put my airbrush into the water and I squeeze and all the color comes out into the water. And then next, I spray it onto a paper towel until I don't see any color. That is how I clean it. You can buy things to clean your airbrushes, like little containers that you put this into and you spray into the water. I didn't think that was necessary, so I just spray it in water to clean all the color. But I did get this. I have airbrush cleaner. This is from a company called Copy Cake, but you can, again, just Google airbrush cleaner and you can put that in. It's kind of a soapy mixture, but you can use it in. And so occasionally I'll clean my airbrush with that. And then if I use my airbrush a lot, I will clean, like I'll actually take it apart and clean it, about once a week. It's once you know how to take it apart, very, very easy to take it apart, but that's how you know your airbrush will stay in working condition, because the worst thing for an airbrush is if you go to spray and it splatters. That is really annoying. And usually the reason for that is either you've put something that is too thick in your airbrush gun, like if you create your own gold and you mix gold powder with Everclear, sometimes that can get too thick and it'll clog it up and it'll sputter. And if it does, you just need to take it apart, clean it, put it back together. The first couple of times I took my airbrush apart, I was thinking I have killed this, but I just followed the directions on the internet. It was real easy to put it back together. My tip for taking your airbrush apart and cleaning it is make sure that you do it over a white paper towel, because there are a lot of little pieces. And if you drop those, you're toast. You can't find them. So do that. And that is really helpful, but it's very, very important to keep your airbrush clean. You can hold your finger over the spray and turn it on. It will bubble in the color part. Yes, Sherry, you're so right. You could put water in here, then you can put your finger right here, pull it back, and it will bubble up and it will remove a lot of the color that's on, from here to here. That is a very, very good point. So do y'all have any questions about what I just said, sort of about cleaning the airbrush or making sure that you keep it clean? If you have any questions about that. Okay, so next, somebody mentioned that it's so messy. Michelle said, I have one, but I don't like it. It's so messy. So there are a couple of different things that you can do to help with the mess. One is make sure that you always do it over a paper towel, because the paper towel will, get any of that extra airbrush color that goes, that flies out into the air, because that does happen. Another thing that a friend of mine does this because she airbrushes all the time, is she actually took a cardboard box and she built her a little area that's, the cardboard goes this way and then this way, like this. It looks like a C out of cardboard, the letter C. And she puts her cookie on a paper towel in front of it. And then when she airbrushes, any extra color that would go into the air goes against that cardboard. And that really is helpful if you are airbrushing a lot of cookies. Airbrush color sometimes can become very, very messy. So let me give you a tip about that. If I can open this one up. A lot of times, if you have airbrush color with this little nozzle, most of the time I think they do have a little nozzle like this, which is great because it's a lot less messy when you're pouring it in. Let me see if this one does too. Okay, this one does not have the nozzle, and so this is way messier. So let me see if I can find one that's not open. I probably opened all these. But if these are not open, let's see. Let me try one. Let me try another one. I've had these for a long time, so they're probably all open. If they're not open and they have they're all open. And they have the piece of, the little metallic looking thing that goes over the top. Instead of taking that off, just take your scribe and poke a little hole in it. And that way, when you open this top up and you squeeze it out, it's just going to be a lot less messy. Did that make sense what I just said? Let's see. Buy a science fair felt board. Yes, project board. That's exactly what I was trying to explain. A science fair project board. That would work absolutely perfectly. Yes. Make sure the fan blowing on your cookies isn't facing your direction. I clean green paint off things for days. That is hilarious. We all make messes in the kitchen, don't we? So that's one way to keep the airbrush color from being really messy when you're putting it into the gun and then when it goes into the air. Any other comments or questions about that? And if you have any, go ahead and put them in and I'll say the next thing. What kind of airbrush color do you use? Any airbrush color. I honestly have not. I've used so many different companies' airbrush color over the years, and I have not found any difference in any of them, quite honestly. I've used Chef Master. I've used so many different kinds. They all work great. It's not the same as gel color. Airbrush color, I think they're pretty much all the same. I'm sure they're not, but I really haven't found much of a difference. Now, can you take gel color and make it into airbrush color? Yes, you can, by mixing it with Everclear. You can make your own airbrush color. I would not recommend that. You can do that in a pinch, but unless you mix it really, really, really well into the right consistency, oftentimes you can get a little thick, where it's not mixed perfectly, and it'll clog up your airbrush gun. It'll splatter on your cookie. I think it's more pain than it's worth. Airbrush color is not expensive. I just would buy airbrush color. So for instance, this one right here, I can't remember how much it was, maybe $10. This is from Chef Master. It has red, yellow, blue, and black. So, it doesn't have green, but you just got to remember your kindergarten art lesson. If I wanted green, I would just put some yellow and blue in the airbrush gun together. If I wanted purple, I would use some blue and red. If I wanted orange, I would use, does anybody know? The yellow and red. So, having the primary colors and black is honestly really all you need, and you can mix your own colors. Does anybody know how to make brown out of those colors that I just told you? You mix the 3 primary colors and you will get brown. So if you're just starting out, this is a great set. I think I got it on Amazon too. Chef Master 4-color airbrush food coloring kit. When you're buying airbrush color, make sure that you are buying food airbrush color, because there's all kinds of airbrush color out there, and some of it is for food and some of it is not. Okay, now let's talk about my favorite tools to use with the airbrush, because I think that the tools is what makes such a difference. So here's my favorite for airbrushing. And these are old, so they aren't pretty anymore. This is called the Stencil Genie. This is the best investment, I'm telling, this and the other thing I'm going to show you, that you can get for doing stenciling. What I used to do when I first started is I would take magnets that I got at the dollar store, and I would put 3 little magnets on top of each other, so it was about that high, and I would put 4 I do 4 corners. So, magnet here, magnet here, magnet here, magnet here, laying on the table. I would put my stencil on top of that. Then I would put another magnet on top on each 4 corners to hold it, and I would put my cookie underneath. That took a lot of time. This does the same thing. I put the thicker one because I make a little bit thicker cookies on the bottom. And then over top of that, let me get my stencil. Over top of that, I put my stencil, just like that. Then over top of that, I can't do this. Hold on. I got to lay it down a minute. I'm not coordinated enough. Then I take this with the magnets and I put it over top so the stencil is sandwiched in between. And then I set this over top of my cookie. And I'm going to show you in a minute. Now that works great because it holds your stencil in place. But what isn't great is, have you all ever sprayed with your airbrush and your lines are not real neat and they kind of bleed and blur and it drives you insane? Well, there are 2 reasons for that. One, either your cookie is wonky, it's not level, which can cause that. But the screen protector that Elizabeth was talking about is the best. What I just showed you in the screen protector is the best investment you could possibly get with your airbrush gun. So here is the screen protector. It's a silk screen and it'll come off. You can wash it. This is from Genie's. You can just put in Genie's. I always put in Genie's Dream stencil protector, but I think it's stencilgenie.com. Now the way that you use this is a silk screen, and so it prevents the bleeding and the blurring of your airbrush color. It makes the cookies, the airbrush, so much more crisp and clear. It is truly, you hear the word, it's a game changer. It is a game changer. It makes all the difference in the world to have a silk screen. So the way that you use that is you put your bottom piece, you put your stencil over top of it, then you put your silk screen like this. You're making a sandwich. And then let's see if I can do this and hold it at the same time. Then you take your top piece and you put it on top. And then you put your cookie right underneath. Let me get up. Do I have a plain cookie? You put your, let's just get one. You put your cookie right underneath with your icing. You airbrush on top of it. This is the great. I do not earn affiliate credit on this. I do not. I just love it. So I share it with everybody. I don't have an affiliate link. I don't know if they do affiliates. I've never chatted in the YouTube. How do you prevent your gold and silver pearl to not clog up at the airbrush? Honestly, Anne, it's just cleaning. Once you use your silver or your pearl sheen, you want to make sure that you clean your airbrush, and don't just clean it, but actually take it apart. because it is almost impossible to get that color. It just kind of binds to the inside of your airbrush gun. So you need to take your airbrush gun apart and soak your needle and your other pieces to get them really good and clean. Just like I said, YouTube how to do that. It's extremely easy. The first time I did it, I think I got my husband to help me because he's real techie. And then I'm like, this is really easy because I don't know what you can do to prevent that. It's just part of using that, you know, the metallics. It just gunks up the inside of your airbrush. Yes, she ain't lying. She isn't lying. It's a total game changer. It is the best thing that you can do. Let me see if I can find the link and I'll put it in right here. Jeannie's airbrush stencil set. Let's see, you can get it from the Cookie Countess. Oh, here it is. Okay. Here is the stencil Jeannie. And you can look up the stencil holder. She sells that too. So there's another stencil holder that I really love. This is the Sweetest Tears. I love this one, but honestly, I don't prefer this one for airbrushing. I love this one for royal icing stenciling. I think it's absolutely amazing. But for airbrushing, this is the one. This is the one that I would use, and only this one. Yours will be brighter pink. I mean, I've washed mine. I throw it in the dishwasher. I've washed it 1,000 times. You can also replace. You can buy these replacement screens. I mean, these not screens, but these replacement silk screen fabric pieces. If yours gets really junky. Yes. Mindy, I did. I talked about how to clean it and about what kind of colors to use. So you can watch the replay. Basically, you can use any colors, and you can buy airbrush cleaner, or the better thing is to deep clean it twice a week, depending on how much you use it, and just look up how to do that on YouTube. Are there any natural airbrush dyes? You know, I'm not sure, but I bet there are. I honestly don't know. I'm sure with all the changes coming out, there will be. I've never used those, so that would be, but I'm sure there are. If there's natural food color, I'm sure they have natural airbrush guides too. So now I'm going to show you all a little video. I had hoped to airbrush live right now, but I can't because the way that I'm using this StreamYard, I cannot look at you and then stream over top. It just won't work. So when we hang up, I'm going to actually go live again on my page, and I'm going to actually airbrush a cookie. But I'm going to show you the airbrushing that I did with my cookie decorating kit, the Cheerful Box. I always include a stencil because, like I said, stencils just make life so much faster, or cookie decorating so much faster. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you the video that I did for that one because I can't do what I'd hoped to do. Now, this is the cookie that I'm going to show you. So do you see the back, how it's very light? There's a very light gingerbread man on the back. That's done with airbrushing and pearl sheen right here. That sort of gives you that tone on tone. It's Americolor Pearl Sheen. I love that. That is fantastic for wedding cookies, baby shower cookies, really anything if you just want that real pretty little tone on tone on the back of your cookie. Any suggestions on how to get airbrush off the side of the cookie? I would leave it there. Honestly, we are so particular and customers would not even care, I don't think, if they saw airbrush on the side of the cookie. Now, if you are using a real dark color and it doesn't have a lot of crazy curves, you can get a little microplaner, which is a very small grater, and you can actually grate the side of your cookie and you can get that airbrush color off. That's really the only way to do it, but I wouldn't stress about that at all. I always try to flat as close to the side as I can, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. I mean, I know, but like I said, it's amazing how we see imperfections that other people don't see. And we got to realize it's a cookie and it's going to taste delicious. So let's do this little video and then I'll come back if y'all have any additional questions about airbrushing. We'll answer those. Okay, so here's the set and we're going to do that cookie. And when I airbrush, let me stop that for a second. When I airbrush, I always want to make sure that my cookie is completely dry because, you know, this is going to put, I mean, a little bit of pressure on the icing. If it's not dry, it's going to damage your icing. So I always like to let mine dry really overnight or 4 to 6 hours. I'm saving up for an airbrush right now. I'm using a makeup airbrush that's only for cookie decorating. I'm sure that works. I mean, hey, if it works, that's fantastic. I think an airbrush is an airbrush. Okay, so let's get started again. I'm going ahead and putting that stencil together exactly like I showed you all a minute ago. Oh, thank you so much, Bev. That's exactly what I did. I sandwiched that that screen. Now I'm putting my cookie down that's completely dry. And the most important thing is when you're airbrushing, you don't want to use a lot of pressure. That's why I really like the machine that I showed you because it has low. You want to use low, slow passes over your cookie. If you try and pull back a lot or use a higher speed, a lot of times you will get pooling of color in one area and it won't look very good. So low, slow, several passes. There you go. See how easy that was? I mean, it really is simple. And then I put my little royal icing transfer on there. And then I added a word, or you could put a name, which would be absolutely adorable. Let's remove that. A problem that a lot of people have is pooling of color. So that means too much color in one section. Here's how you can prevent that. First of all, this silk screen, it just makes all the difference in the world with not getting too much color in an area. You want to make sure that you do not pull this back too far because you will have too much of a concentration of color. So what you can do until you're comfortable is you have a paper towel. Then you have your cookie on the paper towel. Then what you can do is you can start spraying on your paper towel until you get comfortable with, you know, the amount that's coming out. And then once you're comfortable, you're spraying on the paper towel, you slowly move the airbrush over to the cookie and you don't move your finger. A lot of times if you go over top of your cookie and then you pull, you're going to just get too much color. So start on the paper towel, pull it back, and then slowly move over to your cookie when you're comfortable. That makes sense? You can also use airbrush to do shading on cookies. So for instance, I think that this cookie is super cute. It's very simple. But before I put the green down there, what I could have done is taken, I would probably, orange is not really going to show up because it's too light. So I would put orange in my airbrush gun and just add a teeny tiny little bit of red to make it a little bit lighter. Because remember, orange is made up of yellow and red. So if you add a little bit of red to that orange airbrush color, it's going to make it a little bit darker. And I would airbrush along these lines and along the edge of the pumpkin. And that's really going to give it a lot more dimension. Same thing with, this is our turkey from my last box last month. I could have done this with a brown, a brown airbrush, gone along the edges. And then once I put this piece down and this piece, it would have just given the cookie a little bit more dimension. So that's another great way to use airbrush. Here is a cookie from the box that we're going to put out next month, which is called Let It Snow. And I did this silver actually with petal dust and a brush, but that would be a great example of how you could airbrush, use silver, and just airbrush all along the edge of the cookie. Super cute. To add shading, would you still use that silk screen thing? That is a great question, Nikki. No, I would not use the silk screen to add shading because it kind of hides your cookie underneath. It's easier to do it without the silk screen. The silk screen is good for keeping designs intact. So you're going to make sure that when you do this little gingerbread man, that when you pull this up and you show the cookie, that's what you're going to see are little crisp gingerbread cookies. Here are some stencils that came with the airbrush gun. Here's another great example. If you do this on a cookie and it's blurred, it's not going to look good. But if you use that silk screen, this is going to be a really crisp design. Let's see. But one thing about adding shading, that is when it's really important to put down your paper towel, put your cookie, and then start off of your cookie. Make sure that you don't have too much color coming out. Don't let go of this. So you have it pulled back and then you move it over to your cookie, because when you're doing shading, you want a really, really light, you want a very light touch. Any other questions about airbrushing? Make sure that I didn't miss anything. Let's see. But if you get our cheerful box, which is a monthly cookie decorating kit, we have the coordinated cookie cutters. But one thing, and we have the supply list, the color palette. Sometimes we have royal icing transfers. We have the step-by-step tutorial, so you know how to decorate all the cookies. But I always put a stencil in there. So there's always a stencil that coordinates with one of the cookie cutters. Because even if you don't feel like decorating every cookie, if you just do the stencil and the cookie cutter that goes with it, you can, make some fabulous cookies super, super fast. Let's see. I put the stencil genie in there. And then let me put the link to my website in case you all are curious to look at that too. And if you have a 3D printer, we also have a digital option, which we send the SVG file for the stencil that you can make on your Cricut machine. Any other questions? Thank you all for joining me today. I think that this was fun, and I hope that you all learned a little bit. And then if you are joining me for the first time, you can go to my website, cheerfulbaker.com, and there will be a pop-up that you'll see almost immediately that gives you that enables you to download my cookie packaging cheat sheet, because that's another thing that was so hard for me in the beginning, is to know how to package cookies, know what size box to get, so you can get that if you put in your email address. And then you will get my weekly newsletter filled with all kinds of information. And this week it is going to be airbrushing. So there'll be, sort of a synopsis about what we talked about today, and then links to the products and things like that. So thanks for the tutorial. So excited to get my first box. Oh, that makes me so happy. Make sure that you join our Facebook group, Nikki, because we want to get to know you. Let's see. I guess that's it. So I will let you go. And this is I'm going to go live right next, because I can't do this. I'm going to go live on my Facebook page, which is Cheerful Baker. Go to Facebook and then put in Cheerful Baker, and you will find my face, and then click on that. I'm going to do a demo of airbrushing with this airbrush gun. Unfortunately, I can't do that here because I can't do an overhead with my computer. So join me over there for in just a minute, and we'll go ahead and we'll do it. I'll do, if I have a cookie. Yeah, I do. I'll airbrush a cookie so I can kind of, just show you how this airbrush gun works. And I will put let me look up the link real quick to Amazon. And I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do make commission if you were to buy this gun, but I would never, I would not recommend, I have to do that later. I would never recommend something that I had not bought and used first. So, and I was getting so many requests about the kind of airbrush gun, and the one I hated, and I never wanted to, share that information. So let me get myself situated, and then in about 1 or 2 minutes, join me over in Facebook, look up Cheerful Baker, and we'll airbrush with this gun. So thanks a lot. See ya.